I have made my own unofficial Lord of the Rings sequel, and today, although I am only 12 years old, I am going to be showing you what I have created. I've been working on this for quite a long time. I've always been really into the world of J.R.R. Tolkien. Today, it's going to be one of my favorite things because this is part one. It's going to be a multiple part series. Please have a like button for part two, and let's get into today's story. First, let's start with the title of the story, the second music of the Ainur. For those of you who don't know what the music of the Ainur is, when the world of Middle-earth and Arda, which is the surrounding world, began, it began from a music that Iluvatar, the god of the world, basically created. And then, after the third age, when the ring was destroyed, began the age of men, where men took over Middle Earth. Obviously, this is still the same in this case. Men took over Middle Earth, but about 1,000 years later, Arua Luvatar and all the Valar decided that it is time for a new world. They remake the world with the second music of the Ainur. They all came together and remake the world. And in this case, Beleriand is not quite back. Beleriand is basically a part of the world of Middle-earth that got sunk, but parts of it will now be back. And a lot of the elves' goals, since they now came back in the Grey Havens, are to make Arda as good as it ever was, which is the world which Middle-earth is in. All the elves arrive at the Grey Havens, including Legolas, Galadriel, and Elrond. Maybe not all of them, but yeah. In the Woodland Realms and Lothlorien, they re-established them since men hadn't quite crossed into those jungles, and create great cities, golden cities in the jungles, which are some of the most greatest places in Middle-earth has ever seen. Obviously, this would take about 100 years, but you get the point. They established those settlements, which is some of the most amazing places, all of Middle-earth, re-established most of the old Elvish settlements. Rivendell is rebuilt, although it is a bit different now, since obviously it's been a very long time and it would have fell into ruin, as no one did quite stay there. Although in Lothlorien and the Woodland Realm, some elves might have stayed there. Rivendell is completely rebuilt and is now not only the last homely house east of the sea, but one of many. Khazad-dûm is rebuilt. Well, not rebuilt. They would have gone very deep into the earth, the dwarves, and they come a bit more high up towards the light, and they build more settlements on the near the edge of the caves of Khazad-dûm, and it is one of the greatest kingdoms of dwarves that ever existed. About 1,000 years later, they had so much time to build this incredible fortress and kingdom. Erebor is, although some maybe men would have sent envoys to talk to the dwarves of Erebor, it was only now rebuilt at the top of Erebor, since the dwarves were very far below ground. And excuse me, Minas Tirith is rebuilt. Well, not rebuilt, but this part of Minas Tirith is reconstructed, since men would have built that entire area. So Minas Tirith is the greatest ever been, and Rohan is at the peak of its power, looking at the most modern and most civilized place ever, and the land of the Horse Lords are one of the most powerful they ever had. Envoys, and they start building villages in near Harad, in the jungles in the south of Gondor, and all those areas they make settlements. Gondor and some of the elves also would help in this, and yeah, that would basically re-establish that entire area. And although Numenor would never quite be as it was as well, some parts of Numenor resurface with the remaking of the world, and some Gondorians and Rohirrim, I assume, sent envoys to Numenor to kind of reconstruct some castles over there, maybe some relatively royal figures there, and some elves go to the Darklands to try and make it great, and they come to the conclusion that it isn't as bad anymore. The Darklands is one of the continents of Arda, Middle-earth is a continent, Darklands are continent, and although it is very dark, it isn't quite as bad anymore since the remaking of the world, and they actually set up a few houses there. And in Harad, even the north parts of Harad seem to have some shrubbery, and the world is more green in that area. And in Rune has suddenly become, from a savanna, everything is just grown to be green, and usually it would just be quite a hot place. But here begins the start of our story. This is a world building episode, but still. There is a Maiar named Saldon, and he basically finds himself he always felt like he's different, a bit different than all the other Maya. And he gets asked by one of the Vala, I don't know which one it will probably be Manwë, and Manwë tells him he will go to Middle Earth because he is more powerful than the other Maya, and he always felt his powers didn't rival the Maya, but he said he would not be getting magical powers. He thought, how would he then be powerful? But he goes around Middle Earth telling all the major kingdoms about himself and how the Valar have sent him. He goes over the lands of men, since he himself have taken the shape of a man as commanded by Manwë, and happily he does so. He tells Elrond, Legolas, Galadriel, and any other elf that might be back in Middle-earth, and even some of the men lords, but they are obviously much more foolish and less wise and wouldn't really care for such matters, and they would just be focused on their own kingdom. But he realizes that the lands of Rovanion, I believe it's Rovanion, I might be going crazy, in the east part of Middle-earth, all the men there need to be reunited, and that is where the strongest of their men lay, and no kingdoms are built there. He decides he wants to reclaim it, and he is met with acceptance, but he goes into a northeast part of his kingdom that he's going to reestablish, and finds an altar in a land where the men of this age have called Gaparon. It is the place he finds, and he feels one with the mountains there, and then he steps onto the altar and feels heat coming through his body, and he suddenly feels much more powerful, and he thinks he is going to be the one to save Middle-earth from any forward-coming darkness. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really do hope you enjoyed. Of course, none of this is J.R.R. Tolkien's works. His works will always be more important than mine. I just thought I'd relatively replicate the lore and try my best to get his messages across, and try and think what would J.R.R. Tolkien sequels be, and just the next part of the series will have a lot to do what Tolkien would have, done and written. And really guys, it is incredibly appreciated if you could just like the video. If you're not interested in watching all my videos, you don't have to subscribe, but if you genuinely do like me as a person, please consider subscribing, and there might be another video on the screen, and I'm sure you will enjoy it if you did enjoy this one. If you didn't enjoy this one, maybe that one looks intriguing anyway, and you want to click on it? Maybe it's better than this one, you never know, try it. Bye guys.